Perfect. Well, thanks for coming today. And so today we're going to talk about some fascinating fascia facts. So as we know, fascia surrounds every single muscle, tissue, organ, cell in the body. And just right off the bat, cool things about fascia are one, it's the body's largest sensory organ. So in Qigong and fun flows and all that, we try to work on the organs. And so I really am fascinated with the fascia organ because it's a sensory. So it gives us our ability to feel it. And that's where we get that if you can feel it, you can heal it because fascia touches everything. So we really focus on feeling our fascia. And then the other cool part about it is as we move and twist, we wring out the fascia like a sponge and new fluid comes in. But not only that, is it's piezoelectric. So that means pressure electric. So as we squeeze the pressure, that's when we start to feel the electricity. And so we get that water flowing in plus that electricity flowing in. And that's when we start to feel, and we call that chi. And so that's that energy, that life force that goes through the body. That's why we get all those cool, oh, I feel like a flowing, like a water kind of sensation people get. Oh, I feel like a heat of a flow, or I get a cool. Well, that's that fluid. And then, oh, I feel like this buzzing or this tingling. And so that's that electric component about it. And that means that we're mobilizing and changing our mechanoreceptors in the fascia. And more importantly, the best part about it right now is that when fascia gets compressed or manipulated, because like, why are we doing this? Except that it feels fun, is that it causes the fascia to produce more fibroblasts. And those fibroblasts are the things that then produce hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid is important for that slide and glide. So when we when we exercise or we work or we get like a trauma or an incident or have a dysfunction in the fascial system, it's called the fascial adhesion. And so that's when the fascia got too inflamed and it got stuck and it became sticky together. And so what we do here is it needs more hyaluronic acid in that area, and that frees up the fascial restriction, which restores range of motion and function of the body. So that's like super cool right there, and probably already a lot just to think about. But I'll just leave us with that thought while we do our practice now that we're thinking about producing more of those fibroblasts, that hyaluronic acid, that smooth flow. And so we're focusing on feeling our range of motion improve, but ultimately that's also going to help our organs move and function better. All right, so now we're going to go and we're going to stand up and we're going to do some Qigong, some fun flows. Adjust my camera. There we go. I like to do it standing. You can do it sitting. You can do it lying down. You can, whatever capacity you want to do it in is perfectly all right. And that's why I believe anybody at any age and any function can do this. So you just need to modify it for your level and listen to your body. So we're tuning in and we're feeling our body. So I'll get us into the stance. So we're going to have hips just a little bit wider than shoulder width. So just a little bit wider there, feet pointing straight. And then we're going to kind of, you're going to lock your knees and then unlock them. And that's going to open, and we kind of call those a bit of a bow. And so we don't want the knees locked back, not like that. We don't want them too forward. You kind of, I just lock and then I release. So nice soft knees, that allows the energy to flow through there. And then you tuck the tailbone under. So you kind of sit down. And that rounds the back. And then we have we don't want our shoulders forward or back. We just kind of want them relaxed there. And we're going to round the arms and everything. So it's as if we're like holding a tree. So we kind of sit, shoulder width apart, relax the knees, sit down, and we hug our tree. And then we smile because our tree is awesome. And so that's sort of the base stance. And when you're in the stance, you can feel all the meridians because the meridians flow through the fascia. You can feel it all open. If our elbows are locked or under tension, then we can't feel the flow. So we're opening and releasing tension in this case for more energy flow. We're going to keep coming back to this position. This is where we're going to relax and feel the moves. So now we're going to get into shaking. activate all the energy. And then after that, we'll come back to our stance. We'll do a few more moves and we'll keep coming back to this relaxed pose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Fascia has these elastic qualities. And so here we're also practicing the elastic qualities as well as the plastic qualities. So tissue, its ability to bounce, and its ability to lengthen and stabilize. Nice cheese snack we're going to be making right now. We're going to lift the wrists higher, come up to about shoulder level. Like we're some sort of bird or something. I don't know, maybe a hummingbird flies like this. I don't know. Anyway. It's a great way to shake off tension. You can go ahead above the head. Shaking it all out. Up to the sides again. Down to the bottom. And we'll plant our feet and we'll go into our position. We'll hug our tree and smile. Feeling all the energy flowing. Feel it tingling in the fingertips. Maybe in the elbows. Don't let the elbows drop. They gotta stay high. You don't want them drooping like this. And then we imagine a little hook. So there's the sagittal sinus in the top of the head, but we call it sky hook. And you imagine it's pulling your spine up, and then the tailbone we tuck down, and you imagine it dropping anchor into the earth. So we're kind of tractioning our spine because throughout the day, we get compressed. And so we're really working with one string imaginarily pulling us up, and then another string imaginarily pulling us down. We're sort of visualizing that. But speaking of which, there's a really beautiful move called separating heaven and earth. So we're going to take one palm and push it to the sky, and the other palm push it down. And then we're going to lead the side of the hand that's down. So the weight's on the leg with the hand down, and get a side stretch. And do a few breaths here. And then we'll switch, and the pinkies will go toward the center of the body, and we're going to do this spirally thing around the center of the heart, and then switch. Getting a nice stretch. Maybe you can stretch further than last time. Let's push, push, push. And back to center. Other side. Feels good. Feeling the leg. Feeling the arms, ribs. Into center. Other side. There's 3 different directions we get fascial restrictions. One is in the side bending. So that's where I really enjoy this exercise, where we're opening up, getting those fibroblasts working in this area so we don't have any side bending lesions. Fascial restrictions, adhesions. Many different names. Some people call them trigger points. Some people call them knots. Back to center. Now if we want to intensify it, we can take our leg and we cross them over each other. And then we can do the same stretch again, if you're super bendy. It's good for the balance. Mix it up a bit. Could switch the legs around the other way. Do the same thing. And there. Switching hands. I find this way gets really into that hip. All right. Back into our posture again. Hips slightly wider than shoulder width, the knees relaxed, tailbone sitting, chin lifted up, a hook coming from the top of the head, feeling everything buzzing and tingling. You'll start to notice more of a spiraling energy in the center of the palm. We're going to feel our suction cups there. So we're going to get into that. Just feel it a bit more. We're going to push our hands together, and then we're going to inhale, expand. Exhale, hands together. Exhale, expand. In, hands together. Inhale, expand. It's kind of synchronizing it with your breath. Nice and slow and low. Opening up our lower dantian, that belly. That's the cauldron where all the heat will come from. The heat allows the fascia to mobilize. All right, now we'll drop down and we'll go into some arm swings. So we're just going to slowly bend the knees and rotate our arms, moving from the hips and the waist, knocking on the lower body. So around the kidneys, the L2 area of the spine, the lumbar 2 vertebrae, and just around the belly button in the front. That's L2, L3 zone. Just keep going back and forth. This is freeing up the other direction. That fascia can get restricted, and that's in the rotations. So I also like to turn my neck and look behind me as far as possible. And Qigong was known as trying to be an owl. An owl can actually turn its head right around. I mean, we're not going to achieve that, obviously, but we're going to free up the range of motion we do and should have, and we should be able to look basically directly behind us. If you can't, that's okay. You just go to your limit and just smooth out those tensions. You might get some clicks and pops. I find a little bend at the knees, a little bounce, helps to pump the lymphatic fluid, which helps oil the joints a little bit more. And remember to smile. That's another area that releases tension. So we talked about bows. We have the bows in the legs, the bows in the arms, and then one bow goes over our face. We call it a smile. So make sure you have all your bows with you. So we had the side bend, we had the rotations. I'll just slow it down. Slow it down. Then we got one other way, and so another favorite of mine is spinal cord breathing. We can get restrictions in our flexion, which is us going into our fetal position, or we can get in extension, which is exactly the opposite, where we chin up. And so we're going to do this thing called spinal cord breathing. I'll show from the side. Same position, but now we're going to exhale. We're going to tuck and round the body, drawing the elbows, if we can, into the belly button and tucking the chin, feeling that stretch in the back. And then we're going to inhale, expand, elbows come up, out, and down, chin up. And we inhale, and then we exhale, round, elbows if you can, together, and into the belly button. Exhale. And this isn't so much about bending the knees or doing anything like that. They sort of stay where they are, and you try to just move, and we hinge at the hips and the waist. And we're just going to go back and forth. Inhale, and exhale. That way we've achieved all the 3 directions that we can get little restrictions. And doing this for a few minutes, 10 minutes every day, you'll get better range of motion and less fascial restrictions, which is better health. And doing this hydrates the fascia. People talk about being dehydrated and they drink lots of water. But in this case, we want to drink some water and then we want to do these flows where we circulate and pump that water around so that the body can produce the hyaluronic acid. And that is hydration. All right, I know now I'm feeling pretty warm. Elbows are warm, feet are warm. And relax. We'll go back into our pose in our tree, and we'll remember when we hugged our tree in the beginning, how that tree felt and how we felt. And we'll see, has that changed? Is it different? I know for me, I'm way more hot. I feel like my whole body's on fire now, which is kind of wild because we didn't move a whole lot. But we did the key moves, circulate everything. And I can kind of feel bark on my tree. It's kind of fascinating. So I'm imagining this tree. There's different textures on it. It's kind of cool. All right. So now that the body's all warmed up, we're going to go sit and we're going to work our diaphragms. It's another spot that people, we get stuck in our breathing. We get shallow chest breathing and a lack of a horizontal belly breathing. So I like to put some fingers on my belly button. Usually the middle finger is my favorite, and then the hands just rest there. And then I have more of the palms on the side. And so I feel as I inhale, belly gets big, and as I exhale, belly button goes toward the spine as much as possible. And inhale, expand. Exhale, belly toward the spine. And we just do this for a few minutes. Remembering to smile with our mouth bow. I find sometimes when I do Qigong and I try to smile, I notice that my lips got very dry and my face got really tight. But then the smile is like an extra stretch on that, so it helps making natural smiling easier and more effortless. Because smiling is contagious. We want positive, contagious qi. We're getting full range of motion in the breathing. All the breathing in the ribs and the diaphragm have a lot of fascia connected to it. And as we age, we found out that our lung capacity and lung volume and elasticity reduce. So we get more abdominal pressure in the belly. And so that's why when we exhale, belly goes toward the spine, we're reducing that pressure to gain back some of our volume in our lungs. Now we're going to do the opposite. Now we're going to inhale, and the belly's going to go in and up. And you're going to create kind of a vacuum here. And then you're going to exhale and let it go. All right, so it's inhale and up, and then exhale. So letting go. Excuse me. It's okay to burp or yawn during these because we're moving the gases. So you might yawn, your eyes might water, you might burp, you might feel the urge. You kind of see me on a little twisting and rocking as I do it. I can't help it. It's just happening. Just let your body do what it wants to do. It's like a garden hose, you know. Now that we pump the water through the hose, it's sort of like we're letting the hose go a bit. And you ever seen a garden hose with the water and it sort of goes on its own? You think it's this wild snake or something that's got this weird intelligence. Well, that's happening in our fascia. Some people call it the Kundalini. And they say the Kundalini is a snake and it comes from the sacrum, and there's two of them and they wind up the body. Right now it might just be flapping all over the place, hitting the neighbor's dog and, things like that, but that's okay. Okay, and relax. Oh, so we should also open up some lung points. So the other fascinating thing is that just under the collarbone, so find your collarbone, it's this little clavicle bone here, and you'll easily find it if you turn your neck, there's this muscle that attaches to the clavicle and it goes around the side. Anyway, you're going to find it, come underneath it, and then do little circles. And it might be a little tender, and you're going to feel the tightness between that clavicle and your rib cage, and you want to kind of open up that space. So as you inhale, you kind of feel a slight gapping between the clavicle and the ribs. When we get stressed out or we're exercising, so I call it exercise breathing, this gets really bound, and the clavicle becomes stuck to the ribs. And so, as we know, the blood flow and the nerves go under the clavicle down to the arm. And so we might get like different sensations in our hands, like numbness, tingling, arthritis, those kind of things. And so simply doing these circles, maybe 15 circles, 20 circles, 30, it opens up and immobilizes that bit of connective tissue, which allows the blood to flow through the hands. So in Qigong, we'll go to the other side. In Qigong and energy work, we focus on the palms and the hands first. Also, it's part of the superficial fascia. And the diaphragm, the breathing, is part of the deep fascial line. And so we're working on the superficial fascia, we're working on the deep fascia. And it's like, in the ocean, there's the superficial waves that go. But if you get into some strong currents, there's that undertow that you can't see. It's right on the bottom. And that's what we're cultivating in the deep fascia. We're working with the surface fascia, but we're also working with the undertow. Some people call this the mid-tide or the long tide. It's stuff they do in craniosacral. And so that's why we're going with the more slow. We don't want our undertow to be too fast, or we're gonna turn up too much dirt. So we're gonna do now the orbit. So back to our hands, pushing the hands together, bringing the hands apart, feeling that breathing. Now that we've opened up the lungs, we can feel the energy through the hands, and we've opened up the breathing. So we're just doing a belly breathing. Inhale, expand. Exhale, hands come together. Belly goes towards spine. That normal breathing again. Inhaling and exhaling out the nose if you can. Building our chi. Refining the tension in that garden hose, but improving the strength of the undertow. The inhale is kind of like the undertow, and so it's sort of like the yawn and the inhale combined. And you get this deep inhale, and they call that dragon breath. One of those is equivalent to 20 regular inhales. So in a yawn breath, I'll exaggerate it for you. We kind of go, and the jaw drops. But in this case, we're keeping the lips together. We're going, when we inhale, and we get that kind of doom sound. And then when we exhale, and then we kind of widen the face. And it's okay to breathe like this because we're just in a room by ourselves. If you're on the train or something in public, maybe people get freaked out if you they'll ask you what you're doing. But as my one teacher says, eventually you'll just be this happy person in the park doing fun stuff. So people might come up to, what are you doing? And then you can introduce them to energy work. But eventually it softens and feels like a yawn. So I like to focus on the yawn because it's a reflex. And it said that we can't yawn on command. But I beg to disagree. Because I think I just started yawning. And then when I start yawning, other people will yawn. It's like a really good stretch. And now my eyes water. Okay. Now we're just going to rub our hands. Now that we're all yawned up. It's like a different kind of, you do your warm-up exercise. We're warming up to yawning. We can put one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. So again, we're going to touch, this is where the vagus nerve goes down. That vagus nerve is that fight or flight nerve that tends to get contracted and goes under that collarbone and affects our heart. So just by putting the thumb and I like the middle finger just above the collarbone, resting on those muscles, you're connecting with that nerve. And here is mainly just a bit above the belly button, that soft part. So I'm not on the ribs are up here. And the thumb is on that xiphoid process, that tip of the dagger in there. And then this is just resting here. And so we want to inhale, feel our belly go first. And then we want to feel our chest open as well. And then it let go. We just notice those. And we slightly exaggerate and emphasize the breathing, but we want to tune into our natural flow. This helps slow down the heart rate, tonify the vagus nerve, strengthen our immune function, and make us more stress resilient. Oh yeah, so good. All right, now we'll relax. We'll turn the wheel. So now when we bring the hands up, it puts an extra stress on the visceral fascia, and so it makes the inhale a little hard. And so we're actually going to use the hands to help stretch that. And so we're going to inhale, the hands come up. Exhale, the hands come down. And they just float down. Nice and slow. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, hands come down. I know you're like, what the heck? He's introducing yawning first thing in the morning. Trust me, you get a big energy boost. It's like we slow down to go fast. Qigong is all about slowing down. Not stopping, slowing down. It's kind of like those electric cars. Electric cars now, when you push the brakes on them, the brakes don't actually apply. It's got this like electric thing that happens, and it starts charging its battery. So in a way, that's what we're doing here. As we slow ourselves down, we're kind of putting the brakes on our nervous system. But at the same time, we're charging up our kidneys, which is like our batteries. And now you imagine energy coming up. You feel it in the hands. You're guiding it up the body. As you inhale, everything expands as high as you can go. Maybe your fingertips can go straight to the sky. And then back down. Nice in a circle. Floating down. Feeling tingly and buzzy. Oh. Inhale. Now I like to put the back of the hands together, and it's like a fountain. Then it comes up, and I turn the palms to the sky, and then I can come out and down. And the palms scoop up the earth energy, and we can do it fingertips up. We guide that up. The spiral. Push. And down. See, yawning is involuntary, but it looks like we're doing it on purpose. I'm going to change the world. Yawn on command. It's like driving your car. I mean, you know where the gas pedal is, but it doesn't seem like you know where the brake is. Now we're understanding the yawn where the brake is. And by doing it this way now, we imagine earth energy rising up the body. Oh, head out. My eyes are watering. Whew. So good. Juicy. Full body juicy yawn. You might notice there's places where you feel stuck. I know I do. When I inhale, I get a big pressure right in the center of the chest there. Feels like there's a loony-sized black hole. Gonna breathe into that. Nice bright white light. Up. And now when we come down, we're going to put our hands on the water. We're going to pretend we're a lily pad and the lotus flower. We're going to do the lotus flower meditation. I know I never saw a lotus flower before, but apparently they're really big in China. They're everywhere, so everyone knows what it is. But basically, they grow on a lily pad on a pond. And so now we're just going to move our hands, gliding over the pond. The pond is generally still, so they're going to go back behind us and forward. This is a good grounding technique. This involves the earth element of Qigong, which is sort of our base. Some people call it like the root chakra. I'm going to actually just adjust my chair a bit. For this, I want to sit more on the edge of my chair, not on against the back. It's easier. And the hands can kind of come in front, and then they go around out back. And then what we're going to do is now we come here, and they come up the front, and now the back of the hands come, and we go draw that energy up and out. And now we're like the lotus flower blooming. On that lily pad, it blooms. And you imagine your heart opening up. Your heart is that the lotus flower. And then we come back onto the pond. And we'll inhale up, opening our heart, our lotus flower, energy to the universe. Head down. Clear, and then we'll come up. And just back and forth, we just keep going. Fun flows with Lee. These flows are like a moving meditation. So they help open and lubricate all your joints. My left shoulder just clicked. So that was cool. I just sometimes I spend a little bit more time in the pond than I can draw up. You do you. It's fine. Whatever your body needs. Oh, it's also really good for the psoas muscle, where they say stress and tension begin. And so I believe there's a few sounds that go with this. This is really for the heart and the kidney. And we're really focusing on slowing down the breath in this. And so we talked about that. And I like to inhale as a cho. And then exhale as a ha. So the inhale is like a CHO, cho, or the or surprise. And that's really good for the kidneys. And then the exhale is more for the heart, releasing the heat, and that's a ha or a ha. Those are the ha, H-A-W sounds. So it's like we inhale, we come down to the pond, and we'll pretend that the pond has cool water. It's cold and refreshing. So when we inhale, we're drawing that cold up, so we make that kidney sound. And then the flower opens and we let out all the heat. And when the two combine, oh man, at least for me, I get tingly everywhere. So we just keep going back and forth. Cool on the inhale. Releasing heat on the exhale. Yawning is really good to release heat. Oh. Our face is the best spot our body has to release heat. And so when fascia is mobilized, it generates a lot of heat. And so here we're drawing the heat up to the face and letting it go with the breath. So we're finding all the cool air and all the energy is going to go into the face. And then the heat's going to go and you're going to let it go. And this is a good fascia facial. Make you look younger. This is part of the longevity Qigong. We're yawning and stretching the face, hydrating the face. Really good. But at the same time, we're calming our vagus nerve, which we know is our fight or flight, but it's got this third part that people are talking about now, polyvagal. And the third part is this social engagement. So yawning and stretching out the face helps with the social engagement. Oh, so good. Oh, kind of addicting. Whew. All right, we're going to rub our hands together a little bit. I'm going to warm them up. And I'm going to massage the face now. So the hands come here, and we can just make little circles, or we can do the whole, so you can kind of come up, gently touching up, over, and down. And just do little circles. And then if you can, I'll do one ear at a time. You can come and massage the ears. So I take the first finger and thumb, massage the ears, top to bottom. And the ears, we know, not only do they connect to the kidney, but they're a reflex point. So reflexology says that the entire body is in the ears. So right now, we're giving our whole body a massage. So cool. I'm going to switch ears. You've been doing it both ears. That's cool. You just do it more. Can't really do it too much unless your ears are literally on fire. And with that, then they're probably ringing too. Fire and ringing seem to go hand in hand, so changing the temperature of your ears can change tinnitus, change your balance. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Now, I'm very relaxed, and I'm ready in the state, now that we've cultivated our soil, we've blossomed our flower, we're ready to plant new thoughts in our mind. So I'm going to open up into the Enneagram now. Today's Enneagram number is 7. So arbitrarily, people thousands of years ago broke a body into 9 parts. But if you take anything and you divide it by equal parts, you always get the right answer. So whether you believe this stuff or you don't believe this stuff, the Enneagram is just a way of dividing the body into 9 sections. And it's a very good job. So we use this as a mental map of common thought patterns. And so by saying these releases, these affirmations, or even just simply bringing our awareness and attention to it, allows for us to change, others to change, us to be more accepting to others, all these great things. It's like the crux of psychotherapy. So we did our touch therapy, now we have our talk therapy, and fascia can affect on a few different parts actually. Our thoughts affect our fascia, our emotions influence our fascia, and then obviously the physical things we eat and events that happen. So those physical traumas, as car accidents, also affect the fascia. And so here we're working on the three different directions that fascia got restricted, and also the three different ways. And so here's the psychological way. So today is the type 7, the generalist, the hyperactive, uninhibited type. This is the person without a filter. Remember that 7s try to escape from their fear of being deprived by immersing themselves in constant activity. They see themselves as practical and fun-loving. Although others may see them as superficial and infantile, 7s fear that if they run out of stimulation of things to have and do, something terrible will happen. So they have to stay busy and on the go. They spread themselves too thin, however, using up their resources while constantly distracting themselves with even more experiences. Eventually, the strain causes their health and emotional stability to collapse, and 7s are left exhausted and in panic. 7s can escape their trap by acknowledging and releasing their attachment to being stimulated all the time. When they slow down, they discover that many of their activities do not actually satisfy them. And as they let go of their feeling that they must be constantly having new experiences, they learn to stay with each experience long enough to assimilate it. 7s finally realize that no experience or thing in the external world can ultimately keep them satisfied or free from anxiety. But if they search within themselves, they will find a stillness and serenity which is a dependable source of undiminished joy. Now we're going to go through our releases, and you can say them along. You can say them after me in your head, not at all. Let's just see what happens. I now release all recklessness and destructive impulses. I now release feeling that I will be overwhelmed by anxiety. I now release all compulsions and addictions. I now release burning myself out by trying to satisfy all of my desires. I now release running away from the consequences of my actions. I now release insulting or abusing others to vent my frustrations. I now release allowing my insecurities to drive me into dangerous situations and behavior. I now release sacrificing my health and happiness for instant gratification. I now release being demanding and impatient with others. I now release fearing that there will not be enough of me. I now release always feeling that I need more. I now release wanting every moment to be exciting and dramatic. I now release escaping from myself through distractions and constant activity. I now release letting my lack of self-discipline ruin my opportunities. I now release overextending myself with more than I can do well. I now release believing that external things will make me happy. I now affirm that I am happiest when I am calm and centered. I now affirm that I can say no to myself without feeling deprived. I now affirm that there will be enough for me of whatever I need. I now affirm that I am resilient in the face of setbacks. I now affirm that I find satisfaction in ordinary things. I now affirm that I stay with projects until I complete them. I now affirm that I care deeply about people and am committed to their happiness. I now affirm that there is a spiritual dimension to my life. I now affirm that I am profoundly grateful to be alive. All right, see how those sit with you. We might close with just putting our one hand on our belly, and we're going to gather up our energy that we cultivated. So we're going to scoop one hand up and around, draw it down the center. Do this a few times, switching hands. And down the center. So that we leave this space feeling rejuvenated, centered, grounded, and connected to ourselves. Now I interlock the thumbs, place it over the belly. Just let a satisfying sigh out. At least that's what I wanted to do. Thanks for joining me.